This podcast would not be possible without the generous support of my patrons. I want to give a special shout out to Mary Thomas, Terry Smith, Bella Pori, John Munson, Dale Hozak, Andrew Goddard, Stephen Malio, Anna Lynn, Betsy Hodges, Holly Mack, Chris Bloom, Captain America, and Crystal Carroll. I appreciate you guys so much and thank you for the support. And if you want a shout out on the podcast, you can be a patron for as little as $1 a month. Let me hear from you. A few months ago, actually longer than that, last year, Rob Southgate, who at the time was the owner of the network that Set Listing Bruce was on, was doing a series of 3 question episodes for his Patreon page, where he had different Southgate Media hosts on and asked them 3 questions. He ended up disbanding the network. They moved on to bigger and better things, and he sent me the file for me to use. I released this about 2, 3 months ago on my Patreon page, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to hear a short little episode where Rob Southgate and I had a quick conversation. Here you go.
Jesse, what's your favorite dirty joke?
It's a little bit long, but I think it's my favorite joke. So Boudreaux and Thibodeau. Thibodeau is on the bank of the river, and he saw Boudreaux coming down in a pirogue. And Thibodeau yells out, say, Boudreaux, where are you going today? And Boudreaux says, I'm going duck hunting. He says, how you going duck hunting? I don't see you got no duck gun. You got no duck geckos. He said, yeah, but I got me some duct tape. He said, how the hell you going to use that duct tape to get some ducks? He said, you take that duct tape, you put it on the pirogue, the duck comes swim by, it sticks him, you club on the head, you get it. And sure enough, at the end of the day, Boudreaux comes back with his pirogue and it's piled high full of ducks. So the next day, Thibodeau's out looking and Boudreaux, he goes, Boudreaux, where are you going today? He said, I'm going gator hunting. He said, gator hunting? What are you doing? He said, yeah. He's like, I got me some Gatorade. He says, you pour that in the water, the gators come up to drink it, you club them, you put them in the thing. He said, okay. And sure enough, that afternoon, filled with gators. And then the next day, he said, well, okay, Boudreaux, where you going now? He said, well, Thibodeau, I'm going to go Nutra hunting. He said, okay, once again, how the hell you going to do Nutra hunting? He's like, I got me some Nutra Sweet.
Oh,
You sprinkle that in the water, you come, they drink it. And sure enough, that afternoon, he's got all these Nutra. And so the next day, Piro's come down and it's piled high with pussy willows. And Thibodeau says, I go with you today. I go with you today.
well done, Jesse. You filthy boy.
Oh,
that was good. Jesse, what is the best concert you ever attended?
so obviously the answer should be Bruce Springsteen, right?
Should be.
Because, I'm a huge, massive Bruce Springsteen fan. So being, difficult and pushing the rules, I'm going to give you a couple. One is about 79. Harry Chapin came to Lake Charles.
Shut up.
And there was a storm and his band could not make it. So it was him alone in a theater, and he played, it felt like 3 hours, just him, his guitar, telling stories. And then that was only like a year or two before he died. So that was absolutely amazing. The just two, like Saturday, on July 31st, as we're recording this, I went and saw Sarah Hickman for probably the 100th time. Sarah Hickman is a singer-songwriter from Dallas lives in Austin, but we have become friends with her. And that was the first live show I'd seen since the pandemic. And to be back in a club to hear live music was pretty special. And then probably when Chris and I went to MetLife Stadium there in New Jersey and saw Bruce Springsteen, I'd want to say his Broadway show was right up there, but seeing him in New Jersey in the open air arena, this is the one where he was doing Jersey Girl as the final song, and a couple got engaged.
Oh,
and if you Google it, you can find it. They get up on stage, and Bruce sings Jersey Girl to them after he asked her to marry him.
fantastic. All right, Jesse, third and final question. I know you're a big comic book fan.
Yeah.
What is your favorite comic book series?
Legion of Superheroes.
Okay, can you tell me why?
I think it's partly because you didn't know it at the time, but Jim Shooter was only 13 or 14 when he was writing those episodes, those issues. I've always loved Superman. And by far, if you ask me that your favorite character, it would be Superman. I just love Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. I loved Brainiac 5 and Invisible Kid and Chameleon Boy and all these the idea they were all teenagers and they were a club, and they could hang out together and work together. Teen Titans to a certain degree I certainly love, but by far Legion of Superheroes my favorite series, and I just adored it.
Particular story?
Yeah, I adored Do Damsel, who was originally Triplicate Girl. Do Damsel, Phantom Girl, had my crushes on those. Probably there was an issue where they went back in time to Smallville, and I can remember, they had to try to pretend to fit in, and so that's probably the Great Darkness saga was good. And then I just bought. It was expensive, but I gave myself a present when I was recovering. They went through a spell where it was the 5 years where they kind of moved everything ahead 5 years. Keith Giffen and Tom and Mary Bierbaum wrote this series where they'd be adult Legionnaires. And that was there is a omnibus, which is like $50 or $60, but it has all those collected. And I think that's one of my favorite series.
That's it, Jesse. Beautiful answers. Really great.
Thank you very much. Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at setlistingbruce, and my personal Twitter is at jessejacksondfw. We have a website, www.setlistingbruce.com. From there, you can find links to other Springsteen podcasts, as well as other music-themed podcasts. We have a page devoted to our own SLB All-Star Band. These are guests who have been on the podcast more than 3 times. There is a link to our store where you can purchase Set Listing Bruce shirts, as well as a Mary Question t-shirt. There is a link to our Patreon page where you can sign up to help support the podcast financially. We have different levels and different rewards based on your support. If you don't have any extra cash, and right now who does, you can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference.
You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.